Hi everyone, Dimitri here. As you may know, I've recently passed all 14 of my ATPL exams, and since the day I passed my first exam I felt the need to help people. So I asked you to write some questions and you did, so let's do this. Okay, nice job. And what does ground school consist of? Nice one. ATPL Groundschool consists of a minimum of 650 hours of training. Now that can be divided into CBT, computer-based training, which is a form of distance learning, and full-time classroom tuition. Now CAE does this in 750 hours using both methods, both CBT and classroom tuition. So on a normal day I would get like 6 hours of classroom tuition and have anything from 10 minutes to almost, I don't know, 2 hours of CBT to do at home. Now obviously we would get more CBT on Fridays because of the weekend than on a regular weekday. CBT was either a preparation for the next classroom lesson or a recap of the previous, which worked really well. So at the end, of course, you would get 14 ATPL exams. The way flight schools divide them into sittings is up to them. Oxford does 7 and 7. Other flight schools divide them into 3 modules. I think 7-7 works great. I mean, each subject in each of the 2 sittings correlates to each other. So yeah, I did find it helpful studying those subjects together. Now a thing to remember is that this is ground school, not ground lectures. What I mean by this is the most frequent thing your instructors will say in class is, do you have any questions? You can literally interrupt the lesson at any time to be given a further explanation of what you've just been told, which is really good. It helps keep a friendly atmosphere in the class, and this way you can leave no gaps behind. Right, in your opinion, what do you think is the best path to take to become a commercial pilot, both financially and training quality speaking? Right, so in my honest opinion, I think that doing it the modular way is the best way. That's clearly my opinion once again. The way I did it is I had my PPL at 17, I started training at 16, got my license at 17 when I was in school, so I got to fly all my friends and gain experience. It's all about gaining experience. Then I had 1 year of obligatory army service, so I had the chance to build my hours towards the 160-hour goal. Then I started ground school for my ATPL, currently finished, and soon I will start my CPL and IR training. This is the modular way, which means you get to choose which flight school to do which license and when to do it. The integrated way is when you apply to a flight school, they take you from zero and you finish all your training with them in a very organized system. Now the reason I prefer the modular way is, as I said, gaining experience. You get to be pilot in command of a small aircraft. You take all decisions. You may have to deal with emergencies. You operate from different airports. Best of all, it's fun. You get to do it at home or wherever you choose while building up your hours towards your CPL. Now, to be fair, with everything that I've seen during my training, I could see that everything today favors the integrated. First of all, the airlines regard it as a plus to be an integrated student when compared to a modular student, and there's a very good reason why. It's because the airlines get a complete report of your progress from day 1 to the day you finish training, and it's all at the same flight school. So my advice, if you want to do it the modular way, is to keep your training providers to a maximum of 2 or 3. That means don't go changing your flight schools for each and every license and rating. That will not be seen as an advantage. Just do your research and choose what's best for you. Now, I used to say that modular is cheaper than the integrated. However, summing up the costs associated with my modular training, including all the flight hours I had to build, I think that they are pretty similar Not only that, but with integrated flight training, you have everything prepared for you, and there's no rush and hassle into checking availability of flight schools and worrying if there's going to be a place for you when you require it. Right, do you recommend doing the PPL separately? Just discussed that. Was it hard? Well, nobody will tell you that ATPL training is easy, but to be fair, it's not the content that's difficult, it's the amount, it's the volume of it that makes it difficult. It's a very, very intensive course. It's basically a test of your memory. Which was the most difficult exam? Probably the question I get asked most. It depends. As far as the hardest exam I got, the hardest paper, it had to be meteorology. I mean, I got some absolutely crazy questions I've never seen before, but I tried my best. In the end, it didn't go badly, but it was a hectic exam. I was very worried about general navigation, but it turned out to honestly be my favorite subject because it was the most practical one. You get to play a lot on your CRP5 and do some practical calculations of heading and track. Radio navigation wasn't as bad either. I expected that we would go into much more detail in generally all the subjects. As I said, it's not the content that makes the exams difficult, it's the volume. Why did you study your ATPL in England, CAE Oxford, instead of studying in Cyprus? And how did you feel when you finished all the exams and theory? Honestly speaking, I had my ATPL training in the UK just because I trust these guys. They have been doing it for such a long time. Now, the other way I could have done my ATPL is through distance learning. I did my PPL through kind of a distance learning because it was mostly CBT and then refresher training in a classroom just before the exam. The thing is, it's a different experience in the classroom. First of all, you get taught by such experienced people, and just the extra knowledge you gain from them is a real plus. We got instructed by RAF captains, airline captains, flight engineers on the VC-10. It was really nice to be around those people for 6 hours a day. I think I would have struggled with distance learning. First of all, I wouldn't be as concentrated. I would have had many distractions at home. I really just wanted to get myself into ATPL mode, you know. I go to another country, I rent a house for this reason, to pass my ATPL exams, nothing else. How did you get into the flight school? Well, for most modular flight schools, there's no entry tests, whereas with integrated training, you would usually be put through group exercise tests, basic maths and physics tests. It's nothing dramatic, but it's just a way to control the amount of students enrolling into integrated flight courses. And that's the thing with integrated flight students, they are chosen. They go through a selection process, and that's possibly another reason why airlines prefer integrated students. Wow, another question I get asked quite a lot. Is math important? Do I need to be good at maths? Well, you need to have a basic understanding of maths. I mean, we did nothing worse than Pythagoras theorem or basic trigonometry, but it's a good thing to start training your mind into doing simple math quickly, as that's a skill you're going to need throughout your career. I mean, not only that, but it's quite humiliating in class when you get asked what's 9 times 7 and you pull out your calculator. So yeah, a basic understanding of maths and physics is going to be really helpful during your training. If you struggle at any point, do not worry, your instructors will be there to teach you the process. I get asked the same question all over again and again. What airline do you want to fly with? I mean, getting your first job is probably the hardest part of all your training because you have minimum flight hours and it's a struggle. As long as you have your first job and you build up your flight hours in a heavy jet, then you're basically welcome anywhere. Ideally, I want to fly from my own place, which is Cyprus. How should I prepare for this at 14? I do not recommend going into ATPL books at the age of 14. You can do that as a taste of what's about to come. However, I would recommend trying your best in school because school is all about activating this. How long did it take you? Well, again, this depends on the flight school you choose. It took me 6.5 months, I think. I started mid-October 2017 and I had my last ATPL exam on the 2nd of May. So yeah, 6.5 months. How much studying did you do daily? During the beginning of each phase, obviously there's going to be less studying. During the end, you're going to struggle to find enough hours of daylight to be studying. Studying is really up to you. There's no one to impose a certain amount of hours that you need to be studying. I would get home around 5. Some weekdays I went to the gym, so say from 5 to 6 I was in the gym. I would have a shower and try to relax, get my mind off ATPL for a bit, then start studying. Around 7:30 I would have a break, have some dinner, and carry on as long as it takes. Usually I finished around 10:30, could go up to 11, but usually 11 was the time I said, okay, enough, let's go to sleep. Because there comes a point where studying more will be of no benefit. Your body will be calling for sleep even though your brain doesn't recognize it. So you must give yourself a break and carry on the next day. So guys, that completes our video. I cannot find any more questions on the ATPL Ground School. So if you have any more questions, please feel free to write your questions below and I'll get them answered next time. Thank you so much for watching and I will catch you later.